Hi everyone and welcome to Book Boop. My name is Rachel and today I'm going to reveal my January 2020 TBR. First of all, Happy New Year and welcome to all my new influx of subscribers. I've had some new people join the Book Boop family recently. I am so glad you're here. If you haven't had a chance to say hi yet, please do so down below. I would love to meet you, get to talk to you, and let me know what you're planning to read in January and if you have any 2020 reading goals. I love setting goals because I'm such a checklist person. So January for me is a lot of fun, just starting the new goals over, starting fresh. I love it. And more than anything, I'm excited about this year because I am no longer doing themed TBRs. If you haven't been around my channel in 2019, every single month, I did a themed TBR, which honestly was it was a fun idea, but at the same time, it really penned me into what I was able to read. I wasn't able to read as much of a variety of books as I wanted to, so I'm so excited about this year because I'm just gonna read what I wanna read when I wanna read it, and I am so pumped. And because of that, I think I made a rather ambitious January TBR. Most likely I will not get through all these books, but who knows? You never know. I'm just going to give myself lots of books to read this month, and I'm excited to share those with you. So I'm going to give them in a little bit of an order here. I have 8 different books. I'm going to start within a middle grade and go all the way through adult and then to a nonfiction. So I've got lots of books to show you here. Just a few of them I'll be reading on my Kindle, and so I don't have them to show you right now. And one of them is a new release that I have pre-ordered that is not here right now yet either, but you'll know which book it is when I mention it. So let's just go ahead and jump in. So the first book I am looking forward to reading in January is Saving Lucas Biggs by Marisa de los Santos and David Teague. I believe that's how you pronounce it. This book has been on my overall Goodreads TBR forever. It's one of the ones that's like really low down on there. It's been on there for years and I've really wanted to read it. It looks like such an intriguing read. So what I know about this story is we follow this girl whose father has been sentenced to death, but he is not guilty of his crime. And so apparently this girl and her family has the ability to time travel, even though they've been told to never do so because you don't want to mess with time. But she ends up going back in time to try to change some past things that happened with the judge that sentenced her father to death, because apparently this judge is corrupt and she's trying to go back in time to try to change this judge's past so this judge is not corrupt and her father won't get sentenced, along with I think some other people that haven't done anything either. So it sounds like it's going to be maybe hard hitting. It's got a little bit of magicalness to it of the time travel, and I think it's going to be a really cool book. And I love me some middle grade. I'm excited to jump into more middle grade this year. So, and I'm excited to finally have this checked off my list. The next one, the next middle grade I do not have with me right now. It is on my Kindle and I'm waiting to be able to read it. It should become available to me somewhere in the middle of January, and that is called The League of Beastly Dreadfuls by Holly Grant. This is another one that I have had on my Goodreads TBR list forever. I actually think it's the one that's on the bottom of the list right now that's been on there the longest. I don't know a whole lot about it, but what I do know is it's about this girl whose parents died tragically, and then she has to go live with her aunts, and her aunts run an insane asylum. And then there's some mystery aspects to it about some past things about who her aunts really are and just living in a insane asylum and all that kind of stuff. It just sounds crazy. So it sounds like a lot of fun. Again, it's a middle grade. It sounds like it's a mystery. So I'm excited to read that one as well. And again, just been sitting on my TBR for so long and I can't wait to finally get to it. Now let's jump into some young adult reads. So this one has been out for a while and you will definitely recognize this author because she has some really popular book series right now. But this one is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. Most people know Holly Black for her, no, I'm thinking of the wrong thing. It's the Fae series, the Queen series. This one has something to do about Fae as well. This one I probably know the least amount about, but I've had this one on my TBR for a really long time. And this one is supposed to be about where humans and Fae kind of live together in peace, more or less, I think, but the Fae live in the forest, and it has something about this. I think he's a Fae, but maybe I don't know, he's this little boy that's in a glass coffin with horns, and he just lays there asleep, and I don't know. I really don't know much about this, as you can tell, but it sounds really intriguing. It sounds very fantastical, and Holly Black always writes a little bit dark, too, and so I'm just looking forward to to just jumping into this. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the name of that series. Well, The Cruel Prince, that's it. the Cruel Prince series. I know it has an actual name to the series, but I've never read it. Personally, I hadn't been that interested in reading the Cruel Prince series, but this one just intrigues me for some reason. I think this one actually connects to the Cruel Prince in some way. I think. I've heard that. Anyways, looking forward to that one. The next couple are ones that I do not have on me right now. This one is a newer release and I have it on my Kindle. I'm really excited to jump into it because it sounds so intriguing. And it's called The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. And you've probably seen this book around. It is a recent release. I think it came out in September of 2019. The cover has a skull on it, but the skull is comprised of like all sorts of different like symbols and I think flowers, or I don't know. It's just kind of like put together in all this different way. I keep doing this with my hand. Fancy. So The Bone Houses is supposed to be about this girl and her brother who all they care about is their family and their family's graveyard. And apparently, I think their parents have passed away and they are the grave diggers for this town. But there's an issue in this town where they have issues with the dead coming back to life and they're called bone houses. Now, this is more like, I think, a zombie type situation, not like they come back to life and they were as they were before. It's more like they come back and they're vengeful, and I don't think they're fully themselves. So there's kind of like trying to guard these graveyards and their grave dig. I don't know. It sounds dark and creepy, which is my favorite kind of thing. I love reading dark and creepy books, and I am not going to pin myself down to only reading them in the fall because I love them and I want to read them year round. So I'm excited to jump into something brand new, something that's just released recently so I can be relevant. And I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about this one. The next one is a brand new release. I have pre-ordered it. It is coming in the middle of January. I think it's January 13th or 14th. I can't remember. I think it's the 14th. And that is The Conference of the Birds by Ransom Riggs. It is the next book in the Miss Peregrine series, and I am really pumped to read it. As you can see over here, back here, I have all of the books in the Miss Peregrine series in varying degrees. I have a couple in paperback and a couple others in hardback, but I really enjoyed this series a lot. This is kind of almost like a separate trilogy. There was the original trilogy, which then I thought it was done, and then Ransom Riggs announced he was going to be writing more books, and this is part of the main full storyline, but it's almost like its own separate little trilogy, because the first trilogy is about these peculiar children, and it's pretty much just kids that have these unique abilities. Think kind of superhero-ish. It's not superheroes, but just people that have unique abilities. Some of them that can control plants, or there's this one girl that's lighter than air and she has to wear heavy shoes because she floats. Just like weird peculiarities and things like that. And one of the things that's most known about this series is the fact that Ransom Riggs uses old photographs to help tell his story. And so he's curated these different old photographs he's found and uses them to put a story together. It's really cool. So anyways, this is going to be the 5th book in the series, and this particular trilogy takes place in America. The first original trilogy took place in the UK, and this one's going to kind of giving us a look into the peculiar world in the US, which is very different from the one in UK. So it's a lot of fun. I'm not going to say much more than that since I don't want to like ruin any plot points or anything, since it's the 5th book in the series. But if you haven't read it yet, it's a lot of fun. It's creepy and it's exciting, and it's got almost a little bit of a superhero vibe to it, to me in a way, just because it's got these people with special abilities. So it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get it in the mail. There's always something exciting about getting a pre-order. It's just, it's so fun. Okay, now let's move on to some adult books. I have 2 adult books that I'm going to read, as well as a nonfiction that I'm going to read for work. So I'm just going to mention that one here too. So this one, I really don't know much about, which I'm glad I don't, because it is like a mystery thriller. So I don't want to know too much because I don't want to spoil myself with it. But this is called The Missing Years by Lexi Elliott. This book, all I know about it is about this woman whose mother has passed away, her father has gone missing years ago, and her mother has willed her the childhood home she grew up in that's in Scotland. And so she travels to the Scottish Highlands to go to this home that she grew up in, that she partly owns. The other part is dated to her father, who has gone missing years ago. And then there's some mystery stuff. I think she learned some things about her family she didn't know. I think there's some spooky stuff about the house, maybe a ghost, I don't know. It just sounded spooky. And I love the idea of it, and it sounds fun. And I really want to get into some more adult books, especially thrillers and mysteries, because I love reading those and I haven't read very many of them. So I'm looking forward to delving into this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The next one will look super familiar to you. And to be honest, at this point, I have gotten about halfway through it. I started it on New Year's Day and I am really loving it so far. And that is The Starless C by Erin Morgenstern. If you have not seen this book before, then you have not been around BookTube at all lately, because this book has been everywhere. Everybody is reading it. So many people have either already read it or are reading it right now. It's insane. This book came out late last year, I think in November, if I'm correct. So this is a very recent release. I love Erin Morgenstern's first book and her only book, her premiere book, which was The Night Circus. Pardon me. It was honestly one of my favorite books from 2019, and it's an older book. It wasn't published in 2019, but I finally got to read it, and it was so good. And I love Erin Morgenstern's writing style because it has the most unique, just lyrical and so atmospheric. Just like everything she writes is just, it's just so lovely. The only thing I can tell you about this, there are so many intricacies to this story and to this plot, so the only thing I'm going to say is it's about this guy who goes to his university library, and he's total book nerd, and he finds this book in the library and doesn't have an author name on it. He starts reading it, and he comes to a story within this book that is describing something that is from his own childhood, very specifically, and of course, that's very interesting. That'd be pretty crazy to start reading a book and realizing, oh my goodness, this is me. How is this in here? And there's this whole mystery that unravels with this book. That's really all I'm going to say. There's way more intricacies into it than that. But I also need to show you as well, this book is so pretty. Look at this. It is beautiful. And the inner pages here with all the keys, it's a masterpiece. The way it looks and the way it's written, and I love it, and I cannot wait to review it and to just get to the end, and at the same time I don't want it to end. So that's the other one. All right, very last book. This is a kind of self-help book, nonfiction book that I'm going to read for work. We're supposed to have different goals for our work life and everything over at where I work, and I decided to choose a different book to read each period. We have different periods of time where we get reviewed and stuff, and we have 3 periods like that throughout the year. So I decided to read a different book each period. So I have 3 different books I'm going to be reading for work, and I'm excited about that. It's going to be fun. I get to choose them myself. So this one is called The Common Rule: Habits of Purpose for an Age of Distraction by Justin Whitmel Earley. And this book is all about just giving us better habits. Now, specifically, this book is faith-based. It's a Christian book. And it focuses on curating habits that get us closer to God, and also just curating habits that are healthier for our soul. A lot of it is, of course, as you would probably think with creating habits, it's mainly trying to lessen the amount of time we spend on social media, things that maybe aren't really all that healthy for us, comparison and things like that, and also trying to balance and have a healthy prayer life and all those things. So I'm looking forward to this. It's supposed to give you, I think it was 4 different habits to use daily and 4 different habits to use weekly, I think. So I'm interested to jump into it and see what I think. Sometimes books like this can make me feel guilty because it makes me feel bad about the things that I do that maybe aren't the healthiest. But at the same time, I think it's going to give me a lot of really great ideas, maybe even give me a wake-up call about a few things to help refocus my life a little bit more. So I think this is going to be fun, and it's nice and short. And the nice thing is, since I'm reading it for work, I'm able to read it during my work hours. If maybe my workload is a little bit less than normal and I need something to do, I can read during that time as well. So I think it's going to be great, and I'm excited about that. So that's a lot of books that I plan to read for January. I most likely will not get through all of them. I would love to, especially since I have a goal of 70 books for 2020. So we will see. What books are you planning to read in January? Or also, if there are any books I've listed today that you have read, let me know what you thought about them. Please don't leave any big spoilers or something like that, especially for me, but then also for others if they happen to see your comment. But I would love to hear your thoughts if you like something, didn't like something. And again, I'd love to hear what you're planning on reading in January, and maybe what your January goals are, 2020 goals are. Thank you so much for watching this video. On this side of the screen over here is my logo. If you click on that, you can subscribe to my channel and follow me on my my book journey. On this side of the screen over here is another video if you want to watch another one right now, but thank you so much for watching. You rock. Happy New Year, and don't forget to keep reading. Bye!